Welcome to Audio Gyan with Kedar Nimkar, a podcast that documents insightful conversations with Indian designers, artists, musicians, writers, thinkers, and creatives of all types. Catch us on iTunes or visit audiogyan.com for more Gyan sessions. Here's your host, Kedar Nimkar.
Street Art India is a brainchild of 5 co-founders, all belonging to diverse backgrounds. Founded in 2014 by Arjun Bal, Hanif Qureshi, Yulia Amrogi, Akshat Naurial, and Thanesh Thomas. Street Art India is a not-for-profit foundation with the intent of making art more democratic. Street art explores the synergy between art and its ability to transcend socio-cultural barriers and lead to exchange of ideas through unique and collectively shared experiences in public spaces. Street art has made over 500 artworks in 10 Indian cities with more than 100 artists from over 25 countries. You can check out episode number 78 where I spoke to Julia Amrogi about street art project and insights into murals. Today I have Hanif Qureshi with us on AudioGyan. Hanif is a designer, typographer, and artistic director and co-founder of Street Art India Foundation. He's one of the most sought after artists in India. And after almost like 6 to 8 months of chasing, finally I've got some time with him. And today we are here to discuss about paintings on streets. So thank you, Hanif, for giving your time. And it's a real honor to have you on AudioGyan.
Thank you so much for having me, Kedar. And I think it's a great initiative. I think there's a lot to learn from everyone.
Yeah. Cool. So basically with Julia, I had some idea about the project. I also did one AudioGyan with Harshavardhan Kadam. So I got some insights about murals also. With you, I just wanted to understand, like slightly deep dive into the subject of street painting. And I would begin with like one of the quotes. I'm just quoting you from one of your articles online where you said, while graffiti was once considered a nuisance, it is now a wonderful showcase of alternative art, a subculture that sometimes surpasses the mainstream in its fan base. So looking at this sentence, I was quite curious to understand two aspects. One is if you can share insights about why was it considered to be a nuisance? That's number one. And second, then what has changed? How did it evolve? And why do you say now it has become more beautiful or it has a following sort of a thing? So we'll start with this to set the context and then come up with more questions as we go along.
So I think it's a great question when you say so just to give a context to graffiti, anything which is painted on a wall or like scribbled on a wall, like graffiti comes like, which is like, scribbling on a wall comes graffiti. Graffiti has different meanings, and there's something called street art. In the West, graffiti and street art have two different meanings altogether. When I say graffiti is graffiti writing, and there is a culture of graffiti which is very different from what is street art today and the context behind it. Graffiti kind of like started as a sign of rebellion, where you would go out on street and write not your name, but you have like a tag name, that's what you call a tag, and then kind of like got into the trains and the subways in New York, and then it came to Europe, and it kind of like spread everywhere across the world. India got to see graffiti as late as kind of 2010, 2008, 2010, where there were lots of graffiti writers who came and painted in India, but there's a writer called Bond who came and started a graffiti movement in that case, where he also inspired many young Indian graffiti writers. So that's graffiti, and that's very different from the public art. Street art is what Start India does, because a lot of time people say it's a graffiti. Technically, it is a graffiti on a wall, but it's kind of falls into street art and not really a vandalism is what like graffiti stands for. At the same time, there's also political graffiti. And in India, the context of graffiti comes from West Bengal, where there was lots of political graffiti that it became at one point almost a nuisance, where there were lots of complaints about graffiti, and that was mainly political graffiti. So there was a law which came into the place. It's called 1973 or 75 West Bengal Act. Under that act, if a police catches you, you kind of like you can go behind the bars for 6 months, or you have to pay a penalty. So there is that like the political graffiti which was there, and also the context of graffiti is in India is very different. So what I mean to say by like while graffiti was considered a nuisance, I mean I talk about more of vandalism, political graffiti as well. While what we do with street art is completely different than what you call graffiti.
Mm-hmm.
So since obviously in India also there was like there was a way where this could have gone more graffiti heavy, and you would have seen a lot more vandalism on street. While instead of that, it has kind of like gone in a way where you kind of like seeing more murals and more street art and more kind of like public art interventions, more positive ones rather than just like plain graffiti.
Sure, sure. Mm-hmm. So, and then if you have to define, um, like in detail, like street art movement. So when you say that now it has become like a wonderful showcase of alternative art, that's when you are keeping street art as a context.
Uh, I'm keeping as a context of public walls as well, that it has kind of at least become a place where people can come and express themselves,
Hmm.
and I believe that public walls are free, and if somebody can write anything, especially the political ones, then you also have a right to go and say your opinion on it. And I think there are lots of people in India today who are doing great job in it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, One of them I would say is Tyler, who's been kind of like doing lots of provocative stuff in Mumbai.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm following him on Instagram.
yeah,
He's a tough guy to connect with. Uh,
you
and
can
and
help with that maybe.
yeah, thank you. If you can tell me, have you found any roots of, you mentioned about West Bengal, but I wanted to understand, like, then street art or just drawing on walls, is it anywhere connected to being an Indian thing, or is it always come from the West?
No, I mean we had street art long before probably anyone else had it. Especially if you look at some of our regional arts.
Mhm.
If I have to like look at
The Varli paintings and all.
Varley's been kind of like going on for centuries. There is Gond art. There is many more traditional Indian arts, which has been kind of like mostly practicing on the walls, like even Madhubanis and all of that were happening on the walls. So we have a culture. Even if you go to Kutch and you will see like these huts painted. So we always had this tradition of painting on the walls.
Mhm.
Even in
No,
Gujarat, there is an art form which is always painted out on the walls outside. So, but that's been somewhat kind of like we've been limited to our Indian identity and the same language, and it has kind of like not gone out of its. It's kind of like just playing, circling around the same themes and same styles, and yeah.
correct. No, but I believe these things which were drawn on the walls are more art driven than like political messages or text per se. So, or are there any connections of writing text also on the wall, like copies and like sentences and quotes and whatever rebellious thoughts or something like that? Was that seen somewhere in the history?
In Indian context,
Indian context, yeah.
I'm not sure where, but as far as kind of like, I think it's people have been scribbling on the walls forever.
Hmm.
But is there any kind of like work of art which kind of existed in Indian traditional Indian context? I'm not sure.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I understand this is like more like a historical, like a academic question, but yeah,
No,
no,
but
but
yeah, like you go to these caves and there'll be like like lots of writing inside. There are also like lots of languages, lots of our scripts have been scripted on the stones, and the ones which are kind of like scripted on stones, we still have them. Uh,
Mhm.
so, and I mean, we get the current language we speak kind of like comes from those scriptures and
Correct.
those scripts.
Yeah, perfect. So, and then you also, I'm going back to the first question actually. So you mentioned about it uh, becoming more mainstream. So are there any particular milestones in the recent history? Obviously, street art is one big chapter which has taken this movement ahead. But are there any other players who are doing this? When did this start, and why is it now getting that sort of acceptance and like as you mentioned, the mainstream से भी better fan base है so
I think it's the internet which is changing things much faster. Even though street art is like you consider it on the walls, but the actual medium it's going through is internet, and that's playing a big role in spreading the movement.
hmm.
These artists are kind of like traveling the globe all the time, painting walls in different cities. Is because their work is on Instagram or on somewhere on the web where you have spotted it, and yeah, and they have a next invite. Like for example, if I have to say Banksy, and like everybody would like know Banksy, whoever knows street art and graffiti. Um, but the percentage of people who knows his work versus the percentage of people who have seen his work in real life is much very different. I mean, you probably have not seen a real Banksy on the wall, but you know all his works
Hmm. Hmm.
documented by people, and then it's kind of like also spreads through internet by people. So because the image is there in the public domain, it is open for people to take picture and put it out versus what's there inside a gallery or a museum, which got a much more limited audience than what's there on the street. So
Hmm.
that changes. The second is also like it adds into the social currency of like people in terms of like, oh, I knew it before kind of a thing, or like where it's kind of like a lot of people posted to kind of let their people know that like, oh, how cool it is or whatever. But
Hmm.
it does like play into people's social life and social media as well.
Correct. In fact, that's my next question. So, how do you pick a subject? Because again, quoting from your website, Indian streets are like very unique. They are the microcosm of millions of diverse voices that coexist in this vast and wonderful nation of ours. So, this sentences was there in your on your website, and I was very curious to understand. Like then, how do you pick subjects? I'm sure subjects drawn on the wall also would make a difference about becoming it more relevant, connecting with the people staying there. So, if you have any process to it, any format of deciding, and how do you pick that subject, what to draw, what not to put
So
for a given context?
like when you say Indian streets are unique is because we walking on the street actually. They're like there's a barber on the street where you can go cut your hair. You can eat a vada pav on the street. You can kind of like polish your shoes on the street. There are people living on the street, people shitting on the streets, people are doing everything on the streets. I mean, when you kind of like pass through one of these Indian streets, especially like urban cities, you'll see all kind of things people are doing. And because there's also lack of space, there's everything happening on the road. So that's also so that makes it very different than a lot of other countries where like you don't like, streets are not as like uh, vibrant or different.
Yeah, busy.
So that's kind of like context to Indian street. And when artist comes in, he gets the briefing on uh, what what the whole surroundings are. He also gets to spend time, depending on Indian artist or the artist coming from outside India. Either ways, it's important that artist spends time where the wall is, understands who's living around it, who's it for, who are these people who's going to see it every day, what is artist's personal approach of choosing what it is. So it's also very much free uh, for the artist to decide what comes on the wall, because that's the reason why you have invited that artist to have his expression or his story on the wall. But at the same time, we at least try and give a context to it and say, and at least facilitate him in making that happen, while keeping in mind that it's apolitical, it's not religious, it's not offensive. uh, there's no nudity or there's no religion involved in the thing. Uh, and also the reason why we do that is because what we want to we have a larger mission of embedding art within the cities, than to like provoke someone at some point or kind of like have a certain reactions from it, and not really an activism of that sort, because we believe that there is like you don't need to do festivals or you don't need like foundations to do activism. You
Hmm.
can do it on your own.
Correct, correct. Okay, so assume you have like a great theme to put out on the wall. So, what role does the wall itself, or the space on which, or the medium on which you're painting, make a role, like plays a role, especially with huge sizes? So, I remember like Harshavardhan talking about how the MG Road metro station was designed looking at the surroundings. So if you can also share some interesting insight about, say, like a Lodi district, how did it evolve? Like just slightly getting into like one particular uh, site that you worked and was interesting to understand.
Yeah, I'll start with our first wall. Our very first wall was Gandhi on a Delhi police headquarter. So, like, it starts like I did a workshop and in Tihar jail, and at that time the jail superintendent Bimla Mehra uh, was there. And when I visited Tihar jail, I saw like lots of walls. Uh, and when you organize a street art festival, the first thing you want is the walls. So I was like, why not ask Tihar jail if she has a wall? So we went inside, we asked her for a wall. So we did get a wall, but she's like, why don't you try Delhi Police Headquarter? And I was like, really? Delhi Police Headquarter for a like street art festival? She's like, yeah, why not? So we saw the wall, and you can, as soon as you kind of like come on the road towards ITO from India Gate. From India Gate onwards, you start seeing this like the road is kind of like converging, and there's a wall which is in the middle, and that's the wall of Delhi Police Headquarters. It's a 150 feet high wall, and you're like, wow, that's amazing. Now, what should we propose on that wall? Which something which even a commissioner would not like able to say no to,
Hmm.
and yeah, that should be Mahatma Gandhi, because commissioner won't say no to a picture of Gandhi, because every police station has a photo of Gandhi, and they must believe in Gandhi as well. So we're like, yeah, that's great. So now, but we at least do something different for this young country, and we must propose a face of younger Gandhi than the typical face what we see. So we went and kind of like showed the commissioner both the options, where there's Gandhi, traditional Gandhi, and there's also like a younger Gandhi portrait, and he's like, we'll go with the other one, the older one. And at the end of it, he's like, I want to write this thing called, which is Peed Parai Jane Re, which means like the one who understands others' pain. And this is from Gandhi's favorite poem, written by Narsi Mehta. He's and we're like, no, we don't want to like write that. We want to like write something else, and we don't agree to that. So commissioner is like, he kind of like tried. So he called us for a meeting, and even like in the meeting we refused, and we like, okay, we will not do this. Then we'll not write it. So day before the inauguration, we get a call from another police officer, and he's like, if you guys are not writing it, then I'm getting a sign painter in the morning to write it. So you decide whether you want to write it or we write it. So the Hendrik, kind of like the artist who painted it, Hendrik and Anpu, went in the morning at 5 o'clock and wrote this thing called Peed Parai Jane Re. At that point I didn't agree, but then later on, after like a couple of years, I'm like, I do believe that what he said was right, because police is the one which understands others' pain, and people mostly go to police with problems, and it's like, they are the ones who actually understand others' pain. But the whole story was that the whole point of doing Gandhi at a police headquarters was that at that time, when we invited Hendrik ECV from Germany, we told him that he doesn't paint. Hendrik normally paints unknown faces. He never paints any popular, recognized face. But we requested him, and we said that if we can make this happen, this will open up the doors for street art in India. This will make the other government organizations also think about it and kind of say that, like, as an example, that walls can also be chosen as a wall as an art, and also at that scale, because earlier there was not like that sense of people were not imagining at such a high scale. So and we promised him that if you do this, we will invite you once again at some point to paint what you want to paint. And a couple of years later, we did invite him to paint a large mural in Okhla in Delhi.
Mm-hmm.
So like how the police headquarters kind of like definitely goes with Gandhi, and now we actually get so many requests from so many different police stations across India to paint a picture of Gandhi. Obviously, we are not doing it, but what that did is kind of like making it almost acceptable and okay for everyone to have their walls painted.
Correct. Very beautiful and very, very inspiring as well. On that note, I want to I've heard these kind of stories where people get inspired, and a lot of the satisfaction comes when you see something grand of that size and immortality in the given point in time. I want to understand the negative parts of it as well. So if you can tell me like few pros or cons of like street art movement or drawing, painting on walls from three aspects. One is from an establishment standpoint, where in this case it was the commissioner's building. From an audience standpoint, who regularly sees, and there are different emotions which are evoked, which were not intended, but somehow it got something triggered. And from a artist standpoint also, because he or she is either repeating or just now it has become like just another wall. I don't know the nuances, but yeah, if you can share the three dimensions and how does those dynamics work?
First question was, and you asked three.
No. So the question is mainly the same. It's basically if you can tell me like three like the pros and cons from all the three sides. So one being the establishment who wants or who's eager or who rejects a particular assignment or a project, that you don't paint on this wall or you paint on this wall. So what are the pros and cons if they agree or if they disagree? From the other side is the audience side, which is the layman who looks at the painting and what sort of emotions have been triggered. Something which was not called for happened. Both pros and cons. And from an artist standpoint, like the kind of satisfaction they get with a particular subject, or not satisfied with the output, any story around that.
Mm.
Is that a long question? We can probably take it step by step.
Trying to code it in terms of like trying to decode it.
Huh.
So one, from the establishment point of view, there is, I mean, the pros are that wherever something's been painted, people do get to like remember it. In the localities, like in earlier we painted in Hoskas village, in Shapur Jat, and so for example in Shapur Jat is like a very narrow lanes and very difficult to navigate through. Even if you've been there a couple of times, you will probably get lost. But then when we did street art in there, people would kind of start to remember things with the paintings. They're like, oh, take a left from the cat, and then you will possibly reach Nadira or whatever. There is a mural which Daya painted, and everyone kind of like painted different things, and people would also start calling it that, okay, this is the Chidiya wali gali hai, and this is that, and whatever. So they're kind of like people having recognizing the spaces. So that's like one pros on it. The cons would be like that something becomes too popular. And when something becomes too popular, does it like start affecting locals? For example, I was again given Hoskas village example, where at one point Hoskas village became too popular, and there are like lots of people who came there. So street art is also typically used for gentrification, where lots of builders in the West have been using street art as the form of gentrification, where they would pick up an area which is low income groups, and then does the street art, and then kind of like slowly the area starts becoming hip and cool, and then the prices kind of like go up, and the people who live there have to shift from there because the prices have gone up. So street art does kind of like play that gentrification role, but we have been very careful, and hence we kind of like work with government spaces to make sure that we don't bring gentrification with us. So that's kind of like pros and cons of from the wall point of view. From the audience point of view, I think it's more of a what you see is what you what you remember. So and each work of art evokes a different thought, evokes a different sense in your mind whenever you see it. Every time you see it, it could you could probably seeing the same visual, but if you see it again and again, not necessarily you're thinking the same all the time. So in that context, I have this one small story where we invited this artist called Axel Void, and Axel Void kind of does dark visuals. And we chose a wall of Delhi Cold Storage. It's a vegetable cold storage owned by Jains. And Axel Void wanted to propose a dead chicken on the wall.
Mm.
The owner is like, no way I have a dead chicken on my wall. I mean, it's a vegetable cold storage. Why should I have a dead chicken?
Mm.
So Axel's kind of gone back, and then is come up with another idea that when on the street when people are shaving, and the ustra is kind of on the throat. So you can like almost see that like he's actually shaving, but like if you still it at a frame, it looks like this guy is gonna like slit this guy's throat with the ustra. And that's the second visual he wanted to paint on that. Again, that guy is like, no, I am not doing this. So, but then in the end, the Axel Void settled with a still life of vegetables. Again, in a very like it's got a different. And he wrote Zindagi, which is like life on top of it, after like going through this whole thing. So now it's there in the Azadpur Mandi, which is like the biggest vegetable market in Delhi. So yes, and I'm probably like everybody would be, whoever's going to Azadpur Mandi would like definitely gets to see this every time they visit. So it's too big that you cannot like you can't ignore few things, and that's one. So that's there from that point of view. Third, from the artist point of view, each artist.
This compromise bit.
Yeah, like I mean, say for Axel, right? Axel had to kind of like compromise in this situation where obviously we invited Axel and Axel had his own language, but then we were not sure that what Axel would want to paint on top of the wall, but it's in Axel's language to have such visuals, and that's what he does, like everywhere in the world. He probably gets some places he gets to do what he wants to do, but not all the places where not everywhere it's possible. At the same time, from the artist, each artist is trying to develop its own language, his own language, her own language, where they are working with one kind of visual language which they would repeat. They would do different variations and versions of it, and it would evolve with time. In some cases it does evolve, in some cases it does not, depending on artist to artist. So, but I personally have a very different opinion on it, in terms of like that I as an artist don't want to confine into that just one language, that that this is the only thing what you do. Like for example, if I have to say, like one of the contemporary artists, Subodh Gupta, he does work on steel, but yeah, from his point of view, he's exploring steel from all different angles in sculptures and everything possible. From a common man's point of view, is like, oh, the guy who does steel, but then that also becomes his language over a period of time. That if he does something else apart from steel, people would not realize that that's Subodh. So it's kind of like both works, vice versa situation.
Correct. Very, very, very insightful. Cool. Actually, yeah, I mean, I can just go on and on with respect to like the style or the nature of going wide versus going narrow, and then going deep versus going wide. It can go on and on. So I just want to conclude with last two questions. That you have been involved with Smart Cities program and Swachh Bharat mission as well. So any insights you can share there? What's happening? How's the protocol? What sort of sites you have done? Or how is it happening overall with the government?
With like when we did Lodi Art District, we approached the then Commissioner Dr. Prakash, who was heading the Swachh Bharat mission, and we would like go wait to meet him, and we would spend like hours and hours waiting for him. Like we did this whole exercise for almost a year. We kept on going to Nirman Bhavan, which is like that's where the PWD and CPWD sits. And I could see that like when they were working on this mission, they used to have this dashboard behind him, and there used to be like figures of like numbers of toilet being made today and what's happening, and that figure would change every day, which was quite astonishing to see that, like, you're walking into this government office, but then the style of working is kind of like very different, and the whole approach of also changing, like what they did was much different. So and we thought that the street art should definitely be involved into this mission, because we noticed that wherever we did with painting on the walls, and whenever we did something, it also pressured authorities to maintain and keep up that place, because it got attention. So it kind of like also worked as a pressure tactics on the municipal corporations to make the area more cleaner.
Hmm.
Or at the same time, we also, being part of the smart cities, also that we believe on a larger mission of like having art for all, and also like our habit of like, not we as in Indians are not like used to going to galleries and museums as naturally as what a lot of Westerners would do. Uh, it's just not part of our lifestyle. But if it's like something open, or there's no ticket, there's something we would like go and check it out, like what we see with Lodi Art District in Delhi. It's changed a lot more, and so also the government is keeping up the place very well. It's also going to be part of this Incredible India's places to visit and see in Delhi. And so it has, so the street art has really changed the dynamics of this colony, which was kind of like once forgotten and had like uh, barren walls and just with posters, with political posters. But now, once the painting is there, like there are not more posters. The
Wow.
walls are clean, and it has really changed. And we think that model would be good for every city should have its own open air art districts, so that locals and young people can go and visit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm sure you must have done that in Goa as well, because
Yes.
and some parts of Pondicherry also has that subculture running, right?
Yeah, we've been working on a Panjim art district for the past 4 years with Serendipity Arts Festival. So
Mm-hmm.
every December we do add few artworks on the streets of Panjim as well.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So Hanif, last question. What is like it's like a cliche question, but yeah, what's the long-term future of street art movement, street art foundation? You have any plans?
Uh, as the cities become more and more urban, the street art movement in urban cities would flourish more. There will be more graffiti people, there will be more vandalism on the street. At the same time, there will be more art on the walls as well, by the lots of young people who's coming and working on it. There is, so while that happens in the urban cities, I would say there will be lots of Indian tier 2 cities and tier 3 cities will also have lots of art on the walls. I think young people are connecting more with this art than what we call contemporary art today. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the future of start is bright. I mean, like when I say start, I mean street art in India.
Correct, correct. Yeah. All right. I think this is a good note to end this. Obviously, we can have like this conversation can just go on and on if we pull out the each and every kissa which happened while putting up like a big mural. So I've heard that offline sometimes through some of my friends. But yeah, for this too, I think this is a good package to document.
So
Cool. And people have to follow you, your work, what's next because of the COVID situation. Obviously, everything is under lockdown. Although Samir Kulawur recently did some mural
yeah,
in some
in Worli,
in
he
Worli. Yeah,
painted a mural
yeah.
on Siat Mahal, which is RPG Foundation, the Siat Tire building
Hmm.
in Worli. He painted a tribute to the COVID workers today.
Correct, correct. Yeah. So yeah, if people have to follow you, your work, generally when like what's the plan with street art next when the COVID opens up?
We are currently planning a digital art, virtual art festival as we speak. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
have some of those details for. I think COVID cannot stop creativity, and it will go on. So there will be like lots of digital public art, which we are planning at the moment, where you'll be able to go and witness some of these art.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we are. Yeah, that's currently we are planning.
Yeah, and people have to follow this, which is the best way? Instagram?
Yeah, I think on our Instagram channel there will be more info on it. At the same
Mm-hmm.
time, we have more info on our website as well, which is actually in a beta stage. When I say beta stage, like it is public, but it isn't still right. And we are working on our websites for more than 2 years now, 3 years now. So yeah, one day we will have the website soon. And my message to like whoever's listening till this end is, and if that person's kind of like into graffiti or in street art, or they have been thinking that they want to paint, I would say that you don't have to wait. You can go out and paint tomorrow. The walls are free and the walls are calling. You don't have to like wait for someone to invite you to start painting. Yeah, because I mean, when I started, nobody kind of invited me and said that please come and paint. You pick up a paint, you pick up a brush, you pick up a can, and you go to the wall and do it. Because unless you don't do it, you don't know. So yeah, I would say bring it on to the streets.
Absolutely. Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Hanif, for giving your time. It was really wonderful talking to you. I'll obviously put in all the links, relevant links in the show notes for people to follow and start their moment in their cities.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me as well for that, and best of luck for
Thank you. Yes. And same to you for your virtual art festival as well and upcoming sites.
Thank you so much.
And that's it from today's Gyan session. Catch us on iTunes, Saavn, Stitcher, or any podcasting app you use. Do rate us on iTunes and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Stay tuned for more Gyan on audiogyan.com. Till then, bye.